The dust is yet to settle in Plateau State since the donation of 500 million naira was given by the First Lady, Remi Tinubu, to 500 families affected by the Plateau crisis across the 6 local government areas of Mangu, Bokos, Bakinladi, Riyom, and Jos South in the state. The Plateau State chapter of Jamaatul Nasri Islam has alleged exclusion in the selection of beneficiaries of the 500 million naira palliative donation. The group alleged that the list of the beneficiary families was lopsided, thus raising questions about the sincerity of the Plateau State government towards providing a lasting solution to the security crisis in the state. Joining us now on the morning show to clarify issues arising from the donation of the 500 million naira given by the First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu, is Musa Ibrahim Ashoms, Commissioner for Information, Plateau State. Good morning, Mr. Ashoms, and thank you very much for joining us on the morning show. Well, we discussed this matter yesterday.
Good morning, Dr. Abati.
Yes, thank you. We discussed this matter yesterday, and I guess unanimously, we commended Mrs. Tinubu for showing empathy, for identifying with the people of Plateau State. And in the video that was played yesterday, we were told, with First Lady of Imo State indicating that due care was taken to make sure that, fairness, equity was respected, in terms of the distribution of the 500 million naira. But now there's this controversy, aggrieved persons saying that they were excluded and that the distribution has not been fair. You are Commissioner for Information. What do you have to tell us? Because fairness indeed is important. Equity is important. I hope this was not distributed on the basis of political affiliation and political interest. What do you have to tell us?
Good morning, Dr. Abati and other members of the crew. Thank you for having me this morning. The government and people of Plateau State are extremely happy with the benevolence of Her Excellency, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, to the great people of Plateau State over what has happened to us, the unfortunate act that has happened to our people where we lost lives and livelihood. She has shown us that she's the mother of this nation. She has displayed that by coming to Plateau State, despite the fact that Plateau State is a PDP state and them being an APC government. It shows you that she loves this country and she has displayed that she's truly a mother of the nation. The naysayers, the persons that are raising issues now, is quite unfortunate. We would have preferred Plateau to be peaceful so that nobody will even come and give us money. But in the event that it has happened, what we did was that communities that were affected were asked to bring names. And you know that it's not the same in every community. There are communities that have passed through this pogrom over and over again. They are attacked, they go back to their communities, they get attacked again, they go back and they try to survive. So these names emanated from communities that were affected. And in writing these names, in generating these names, we didn't profile people based on political leanings, religion, or any affiliation. But it's quite appalling, it's quite disheartening and heart-wrenching that this issue is coming up now. We thought that Plateau people as a whole are supposed to tell Her Excellency, the most politically exposed First Lady in the history of Nigeria, thank you. We are thinking that people are going to write letters, buy newspaper pages, and come to Arise TV and other stations to say thank you for your kindness, thank you for your benevolence. But would prefer our state to be at peace so that our people will go to their farms and tilt their lands and whatever they get from it, glory to God. But it's quite unfortunate that after this kind gesture, after this benevolence, people are raising these mundane issues. To me, these are trivial issues. I don't want to sound politically correct. Your reporter, Douglas, was in the hall on that day. You needed to see, it was a collage of everybody on the plateau. The former deputy governor of Plateau State, of the APC extraction, Professor Sonigwan Letioden, was seated. The chairman of the APC and chairman of PDP were on the same seat. And it was a state affair. There was no religion, there was no political party, there was no affiliation, there was no apostolic creed, there was no denomination. People came and they all stood up, Plateau women with their APC attires and Plateau women with their "The land is green" attire, "The time is now" attire. They all rose up to sing Mama Akwe Daddy for this wonderful woman. But it's appalling that days after, people that want to distract people, people that want to give a wrong narrative about Plateau. I even saw a National Assembly member who is supposed to be an honorable member coming on air to say things that are not the real picture. It's unfair that we are going through those things. They are frivolous, they are malicious, they are unscrupulous, and they are unkind to this government. It is bank draft that were brought to Plateau State. There are farmers in these people that in this list that do not have a bank accounts. They agreed and they submitted names. I remember, Dr. Abati, I was a special assistant on media to a senator, distinguished Senator Idi Gang, Deputy Chairman, Senate Committee on Defense. If he's going to give some gifts, sometimes cash, to the people in my village, he deposits in my account. When I go to the village, before I go, I withdraw and I give them their money. So it's in trust that you find some names in the list. It's not as if they are there to take the money. Tribal associations that were affected were there. The opening prayer was there. You can ask Professor Ganduje, the wife of the national chairman of APC. The Christian prayer was said in English. The Islamic prayer was said in Arabic, all through. And there was a chorus because Muslims were there. They answered. I mean, it's quite unfortunate. Dr. Abati, it will shock you that you will see me seated here with you and you see my name, Musa Ibrahim. I'm a Christian, a die-hard Christian, an unrepentant Christian, unapologetically so. So in the north, there are names that you cannot just say they are Muslims or Christians. For example, if you see Harun Audu and you are to tick his religion, you will likely tick that he's a Muslim. Or if you see Kasim Adamu Sodangi, or if you see Adubok Azi, he's a Christian. In Plateau, people maintain their local names even if they are Muslims. We have a tradition. We are Plateau people. And there is no discrimination in this government. Right. The Caleb Muftuan-led Time Is Now government is for all. It's all-inclusive. You can see we have mainstreamed gender. The chief director, research, documentation, and statistics in the government house is a blind man. He's a member of the State Executive Council. We have 4 women in the State Executive Council. We have Christians and Muslims. So I wonder why people will be petty and be trivial in a matter that we're supposed to say thank you to the First Lady. Right. We understand. The people that do not like Plateau will want to give us a wrong narrative so that we don't get these kind of interventions in the future, but they lie.
All right. Thank you for just stating your point and talking about the fact that, like you said, rightly mentioned, beyond the gift is also how to bring a permanent solution, or at least some relief and respite to the people of Plateau State so they can go back to their farms. But I'd like you to, in the spirit of transparency, can you share with us the process? How were these 500 families identified? I know you mentioned that people should bring names. What was the channel of distribution of the 1 million naira to each of the families? How were you able to ascertain that these were the families that were most in need or affected by the crisis in Plateau State? And is there any way to trace that monies were given to this? Just for this, in the spirit of, because the governor, Mr. Muftuang, had said that one of the key things following that donation was to ensure that the process was transparent in terms of the distribution of the 500 million naira. Can you share with us, please?
In every community, there are gatekeepers. In every community, there are leaders. And as Plateau citizens, everybody knows the communities that have been affected. I'm from Plateau North, I'm from Jos East. My local government didn't benefit from it because there was no pogrom. That is not to say there is no insecurity in my local government. These are local governments that are known by everybody, by journalists. You can do a random sampling. You can ask. You can do investigative journalism. You heard that the 6 local governments are the most affected. And these names came from the people. They wrote and said, these are the persons that we think should benefit. If we want to give all the people that are affected by this pogrom, by this annihilation on the Plateau support, the entire money of this country will have to be channeled to Plateau State. But this benevolence is targeted at 500 families. The governor, while talking to the beneficiaries, said, in the spirit that the First Lady gave to, you should also share with your neighbors. And some people in Plateau are even breaking it down further, that if you give 500,000 naira to each family, we're going to get 1,000. But this is Renewed Hope Initiative, an initiative of the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria towards ameliorating the sufferings of our people on the plateau. So it's quite unfortunate and excruciatingly sad that people will begin to make a political capital out of this benevolence. Plateau people, like I said, will prefer an ambience of tranquility, an ambience of peace, where our people will go about their normal businesses without getting tokenism, without getting interventions. We would prefer that we are living at peace, then we get intervention to boost our agricultural activities on the plateau.
Ashoms,
We would prefer that we are at peace, then we get government intervention.
You haven't responded to. I just want details. As the Commissioner for Information, you must have details in terms of how are you tracking? Yes. Is there any way to track who the 500 families that were given the money? How did you identify people most in need? Because I'm sure more than 500 families were affected, but the number provided for is 500. Just to give us, to put to sleep any doubt or any issues around transparency. Can you share with us what measures were put in place by the government?
I just told you that every community has gatekeepers. It is the people that generated the list. And the list were published in the program on that day with the 500 names. It's not as if the names were not published. The names were published. You could see them. They are Plateau sons and daughters. They are people that have been affected by this pogrom, and they belong to the communities that were affected. That is how the names were generated.
Okay, let's dig further. Do you have a count number of those 500 people?
It's a bank draft.
A bank draft?
It's a bank draft that was brought.
Okay, so it's a
yes,
bank...
It's a bank draft with their names.
It's a bank draft for these people. Good. Secondly,
yes.
Who was the village head that you said that generated these names?
It's 6 local governments, so it's not about one village head.
So who were the village head that generated? Okay, take for instance a random local government. Mention a random, and talk about the village head that generated the names in that local government. Basa
local government, for example.
Yeah.
The Irigwe nation was the one that was most affected. So even the president of Irigwe Youth Movement, the Women Wing, the National Association, all of them collapsed together to bring out these names because they know their communities better than we do, in as much as we've been given the mandate to lead the state.
Do you have the document at which they...
it is Homestead.
Okay, so do you have the document at which they generated the names and they signed and said, okay, this is our nomination for the names?
Yes, we have.
You have the document.
You know, it's not the same in every local government.
Yeah, you have the document.
Yes, some local governments have more.
Can you make them can you make them public for the sake of accountability?
No problem. No problem. We'll do all of that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Ashoms.
Thank you.
We are a government that is very, very accountable, Rufai, so it's not an issue.
Okay.
Okay, let me ask you. Since yesterday, we've been talking about Mrs. Tinubu's benevolence. And people have been coming up. Some people say, oh, where did she get the money from? Some people have shown up to say, we were not included. Anything that involves money is always a problem with Nigerians. They will say, it's our money. It's this. They gave us money. They did not get to our own household. The intention is not to give every family in Plateau State money. It's just to show empathy, to identify with the people, to commiserate with them. So I don't think Mrs. Tinubu should be controversialized in this particular matter. However, talk to us about what the state government itself is doing. Because Mrs. Tinubu and the First Lady of Imo State and other First Ladies, they came from other parts of Nigeria. How is the state government taking responsibility and making efforts to make sure that the people of Plateau State don't have to sleep with 2 eyes open? Because you people are quarreling over other people's money. What is the government itself doing?
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Abati, for that question. You know, in the past, when presidents come to Plateau State, we don't even tell them the insecurity that we face. One time, President Muhammadu Buhari was in Jos, and people in Darfur, in Boko's local government area, were being killed. An elder from that community had the opportunity of speaking. He didn't bring the attention of the president to it so that he doesn't embarrass the governor. In our own case, the governor himself has come to meet His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and he laid bare the issues on the plateau, the pogrom, the annihilation, the ethnic cleansing going on. And that is why the Chief of Army Staff, General Lagbaja, was in Mangu, where we formed the Operation Hakoren Damisa. And you can see that the thing has gone down relatively. And our hope and our prayer is that people don't just wake up and begin to kill their neighbors or begin to come from elsewhere to lay siege and kill people and take over their livelihoods. In the past, when these things happen, you don't see this kind of intervention. The GOC in Jos also moved to Mangu, unlike when an IG was asked to go to Benue State to go and make sure that everything is everywhere is peaceful. The very day he went to Benue, he returned back to Abuja. In our own case, the GOC of 3rd Armored Division, who doubles as the commander of the Operation Safe Haven, relocated to Mangu, and we thank God that we are enjoying peace. But it's like the enemies of Plateau, once we say we are enjoying peace, they strike. We want to use this medium to call on the federal government again to buckle up security on the plateau and other parts of Nigeria so that our people will have an atmosphere of peace where they can thrive, where they can do their businesses, where they can do whatever pleases them and is not against the law. Now, as a people, in the past, when people come and lay siege and take over communities and kill our people, they also destroy our farm produce. As a government, we've mobilized 29 tractors to 3 local governments that were affected, and we cultivated 900 hectares of land. And because, the rains are fizzling out gradually, we cannot we cannot replant the crops that were on those farms. So we had to look for plants that their lifespan, this rain can sustain. So we have planted groundnut, soya beans, and beans for our people, so that after losing your loved ones, your livelihood too shouldn't be lost. So in the interest of our people, we have cultivated 900 hectares of land so that we will cushion the effect. And we have set up a committee to begin to implement cost of living, I cannot remember now, COLA, that's what it's called for civil servants, so that we reduce the stress of this.
Cost of living allowance.
Thank you very much, COLA. So that we, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So that we, cost of living allowance, so that we alleviate the suffering that people are going through. And for those that know how to get compressed natural gas vehicles, the queue is too much. We are hoping that very soon we'll bring them to Plateau State so that our people will have a wonderful transport system so that it will convey them from point A to B. It will even help us in knowing who is entering our buses from point A to B. And again, scholarship on the plateau has been very, very meager for a long time. Government, in its benevolence, in its thinking, has raised it by 100%. And just before I entered this studio, the Student Union Government of Plateau State University were trying to confirm certain things. We have reduced their school fees by 50% in all state-owned government institutions. Okay. So that we will reduce the sufferings of our people. Okay. Because the economy is really biting hard. So government is doing a lot so that we cushion this effect. In the Plateau State University, where I just mentioned, there are courses that would have failed accreditation. We have given NUC money so that the students that study such courses can go for NYSC and will be recognized, even in the Plateau State Polytechnic too.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ashom, for your time. Really appreciate you for your insight this morning. Please don't forget to print out that document of most of the village heads, how they came together with those names.
It's not a problem.
And please it out in public very soon. Thank you.